sir. Thank you very much for your time today. By the way, we are third year students from Cebu Normal University main campus, and we are conducting a short interview to learn more about school leadership and management from your experience as the school's division superintendent of Mandawi City. But before we formally start, we would like to respectfully ask for your permission if you will allow, sir, this interview to be recorded. It's
Yes,
okay to
yes.
do so.
You can go.
Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you very much, sir. Now, to formally start, may we kindly ask you to briefly introduce yourself and share a little about your professional journey and how you became a DepEd superintendent.
Well, I am Dr. Bianito A. Dagatan, the Schools Division Superintendent of Mandawi City. I am connected with the Department of Education for 31 years. Out of the 31 years, a sort of 8 years in the classroom, 6 years as school principal, then 3 years as assistant superintendent, then the remaining years, so more or less one half of the 31 years, is already as the schools division superintendent. But prior to my assignment in Mandawi, I was assigned as the schools division superintendent of Bais City, Negros Oriental, then schools division superintendent of Cebu City from Bais is from 2012 up to 2016. Then Cebu City is from 2016 to 2019. Then after Cebu City, I was assigned in the province of Bohol as superintendent from 2019, that's pandemic time, until 2023. And so from April 2023 until now, I am assigned here in Mandawi as the schools division superintendent of Mandawi City Division.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your journey with us. We truly appreciate hearing about your experiences. With that, we will now begin our interview. Each member of the group will ask 1 to 2 questions related to school leadership, school functions, and current issues in school. So to start our discussion, I will now pass the floor to my groupmate Antoinette for the first question. Antoinette?
Sir. So, in your leadership, what initiative does the school's division implement to help students interact with diverse peers and build strong social skills both inside and outside the classroom?
Yeah, so that's why at our end, we are not only limiting the exposure of the learners on what is in the written curriculum. That is why through participation to several activities like letting them involved in the supreme student government or supreme learner government activities, or even letting them participate in different co-curricular and extracurricular activities like scouting, community programs. So in that way, we can again we can help them that they will be considered as social animals, because when we say socialization, is for them to be aware that they are not living alone. So it is a simple way of saying that's how we interpret, that's how we implement the common quotation or sayings that we hear nga, we keep on saying it, no man is an island. So activities inside and outside the schools, scouting, student or student led activities through the Supreme Student Government or Supreme Learner Government. In that way, we are developing them. Because in short, in socialization, we are not focusing only on the knowledge aspect, but in socialization side, we are developing their values, their character, and their role as members of the society.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. No, so it's enlightening to see how the division actively supports student social development. So, for the next topic and questions, I will give the floor to Miss Bianca Himal.
Hello, sir. It's me again. So, for our next topic, it's all about school partnerships. So, you're interested in learning how DepEd Mandawi City works with communities, parents, and other stakeholders to improve student outcomes and school development. So, for the first question, from your experience as a schools division superintendent, what do you think makes a partnership between schools and the community truly effective in improving student learning?
Well, whether we like it or not, school partnership is a must, meaning there should be no schools, as particularly public school, that will operate without support from the different or various stakeholders. Because again, as the saying goes, it takes a village to educate a child. So the school cannot operate without utilizing the support of the different stakeholders. Number one stakeholders there is the Parents Teachers Association. Another is we have the student or the school governance council. They can tap the local government unit. They can tap the different non-governmental organizations. But on the question, how we can effectively implement and manage that partnership, number one is for the school to be transparent in their transaction. Because if the school is not transparent, for instance, they are asking support from the NGO or barangay officials or the PTA, but after giving the support, that organizations are not aware on what happened, what was the result, what was the output, then definitely there is no assurance that that partnership will continue, because in the long run the partners will slowly evade, will slowly uh, getting detached from the school because they did not understand how the school valued their partnership. So that is very important for, especially that's the role now of the principal to see to it at the school level that they can implement what we call addition, not subtraction. So it's better when you say addition, meaning it's if possible they continue adding more partners rather than every year changing new partners. It's not a good practice. So they can do it, keep on adding new partners if again they can prove to their partners that for every inputs, for every resources given by their partners, there is a better results in terms of academic performance, in terms of going back to the socialization aspects, not only knowledge, but in terms of knowledge, values, and skills, they can see it as an output, as an outcome to the resources they provided to the school.
So, you mentioned, sir, the importance of partnership. So, can you share an example of partnership within your division that has made a significant impact on students or the school programs?
Of course, speaking of partners, the number one, that's since time immemorial, the number one partner of the school is the PTA. And so the PTA is always there helping the school. For example, the school needs to participate activities outside, to participate the division press conference, regional press conference, the festival of talents, or even sports competition. So the burden of the school becomes lighter because it's there. The PTA is sourcing out funds, making fundraising activities so that they can provide that financial support to the school. Another is there are a lot of private individuals or companies that through partnership they were able to improve the physical condition of the classroom. They were able to see to it that there is we call it the environment, the learning environment is favorable to the learners by providing electric fans or by making repairs. So in those are some specific example that through partnership there is improvement in the learning environment that will become conducive to learning, conducive to on the part of the learners that they will learn better if the resources is provided, and that resources can be augmented. No, the school will not rely only on their funds given by the national government, but because of their strong partnership with different stakeholders, they were able to improve their resources. They were able to provide the different learning materials, learning facilities in such a way that enhance the learner's capability to learn the curriculum.
Thank you very much for your answer, sir. It clearly shows how important partnerships are for school improvement. So I will now pass the discussion to Raymart for the next set of questions.
Okay, so I'm back again. No? So our third topic focuses on the principals as school managers and leaders. So we would like to know your perspective as the leader of the division on how you guide principals to manage and lead the schools effectively. So for the next question, sir, in your experience, what qualities or competencies make a superintendent or an SDS an effective school manager and at the same time a strong instructional leader?
Of course, definitely to become effective as a school manager or even a superintendent, we will just base our idea or our concepts on what is mandated in us pursuant to Republic Act 9155, and that is governance of basic education. As stated there, especially the school principal, there is a dual role, and that role is as instructional leader and administrative manager. So meaning the principal will not look into only how the curriculum shall be implemented, how the teacher will deliver the lessons, but at the same time, it's when it comes to administrative manager, meaning the school principal or the superintendent, on that matter, in the case of the division level, will see to it that, for instance, there is equal distribution of teachers, there is equal distribution of resources, but basically we call it uh, not equity, but not equally, but there is what we call equity, meaning we cannot say that if we will distribute, for example, learning resources, if we will give five to one school, five to another school, but when you say equity, we will divide the resources according to their size. So meaning the bigger school will have bigger share of the resources compared to smaller school. So again, if we will again make is this view of the role of the principal or the superintendent, again, based on Republic Act 9155, the dual role generally is to ensure, and that is instructional leadership, to provide guidance, to see to it that teachers are given the right training so that they can deliver well the lesson. Then that's for instructional leadership. So it's not enough that the teachers are hired, but the principal and the superintendent shall see to it that teachers are assigned to, especially for the high school, they are assigned to the subjects their specialization. But when it comes to sa other role, administrative manager, they have to see to it that resources are provided, and if resources are not available, especially like a while ago we discussed on partnership, then that's the at the division level, we have to see to it also that the principal is capacitated on how to deal with the different stakeholders, meaning they should know how to convince, how to facilitate that the stakeholders can provide the resources they are needing.
Okay, so thank you very much for sharing that, sir. So for my next question, as the SDS of Mandawi City, how do you manage the different schools in the division while ensuring that principals are effectively leading their own schools?
Well, as superintendent, it is not, it depends. Because speaking of leadership, uh, its leader follows different leadership style. No? We may apply autocratic, we may apply democratic way of leading, we may apply the, what we call the servant way of leading. But we have to be aware also that we are following that what we call organizational structure. Based on our rationalization plan implementation at the division level, our structure is we have two functional divisions. Then if we have two functional divisions under the office also of the superintendent, there are different administrative sections. So for instance, speaking of curriculum implementation, my direct link to the school is the curriculum implementation division. Speaking of curriculum implementation division, we have the what we call CID chief, and below the curriculum chief is the 10 program supervisors. And these 10 programs, education program supervisors, they are handling the different subject areas. So meaning we have supervisor for English, for Filipino, for science, for math, and all other subjects, even learning resources. And when it comes to governance and operation, we have another division, and that is the school's governance and operations division with the chief also. And under that division chief of the SGOD, we have also different sections. There is a section that is managing for the partnership. There is a section that is managing for the health and nutrition aspects of the learners. There is a section that handles for physical facilities. There is a section that handles for uh, sports and other activities. So in short, as the superintendent, I am not directly talking to the school heads. Although there are situations that I had to visit the schools to talk with the principals, but under the normal situations, there is what we are following that speaking of protocol, there is organizational structure. So on the daily basis, I am talking to the head of the functional divisions, and I am talking also directly to the different section heads of the office of the schools division superintendent. For instance, if I want to know how many teachers needs the training, I will not talk directly with the principal, but I have to talk with the in charge of the human resource development section because they have the data. So in short, every day there is the structure that we are looking into. The division chiefs of the CID and the SGOD, as well as the different section heads of the admin section, will gather data, process it. Then we have to meet, I have to meet them to get the information and discuss, plan out what solutions we can make. And that is part of our monitoring of the schools. We have regular monthly and quarterly discussions on what are the issues and concerns of the schools and how do we address these issues and concerns. So again, basically with that structure, we have to see to it that our people is working because it is already micromanaging. If every day I have to talk directly with the principal, so meaning government is kanang the resources is just a wastage if I will not make use of the people in the different sections and offices at the division because I have to deal directly with the school heads. So there are people based on the structure that can directly penetrate to the school, and the inputs from them will be my basis in my decision making so that there might be policies that will be issued to address the issues and concerns at the school level.
Okay, so thank you, sir. No, it is inspiring to hear that. So, for the next topic, sir, I will give the floor to Miss Jen Gale about leadership styles.
Okay, good day, sir. So, our fourth topic is leadership styles. We want to understand how your leadership style influences the divisions and guides principals in their role as school leaders. So, as a superintendent, sir, what leadership style or approach do you typically use when guiding school heads, teachers, and staff within the division?
Well, speaking of leadership style, uh, as a superintendent, I cannot tell you that I am using one because, as the saying goes, use different strokes for different folks. So, meaning the styles that I will be using depends on the situation that I am dealing with. For example, if a certain school needs closer supervision, needs to improve their academic and even physical aspects of the school, then probably I will be applying the transformational leadership. I have to ensure that with my transformational leadership, they will be able to transform their school from the lowest performing to the highest performing school. So that's one example nga in the totality, I cannot say that I am using only one leadership style, but how shall we or when shall we use a certain leadership style, either transformational, instructional, democratic, or autocratic, or transactional, or servant leadership. Those are some example of leadership style. Again, it depends on the situation. It depends on the kind of school I am dealing with. So again, when you say instructional leadership, if I saw that this particular school, the principal needs further knowledge on how to provide instructional supervision, then I will use my knowledge on instructional leadership. If this school needs a, what we call carrot and stick way of dealing them, then if they are not performing well, I might apply the autocratic way of leading them. So, in short, there is no one best leadership style that I can tell you. But if we will combine all those leadership style, what will emerge is that what we call situational leadership. That leadership that will be based on the situation that we are dealing with. Kumbaga, kung ang eskwelahan imong gidil, mga buotan ang mga maestra, mga A1 ang mga maestra, dili pwedeng mulingkod kanila kay imo pagtudloan unsaon pagtudlo. 'Di ba? They will be insulted. But so ang adto sa imong ideal siguro is more of being an inspirational leader nga ma-inspire pa sila aron dili mga brood kay they are an A1 teacher. So mainsulto inon nimong iunaon pagtudlo but they are very good already. But for schools nga you notice nga maglisod ang teacher gali pag handle how to let the learners read. So imo nang i-apply na pong instructional leadership. You will do lock sessions, group meetings with them, tell them how to do the reading sessions. So again, at the end of the day, there is no one best leadership style, but apply the leadership style that will address the situation. So that is what we call situational leadership. Use different strokes for different folks.
Okay, that's very insightful, sir. It really shows how leadership can shape the direction of schools within the division. So, for our next question, sir, is from your experience in educational leadership, which qualities do you consider most important for school heads and those emerging education leaders to develop?
Again, let's go back to my previous answer. If you really want the school heads to be performing school heads, the quality that he or she should possess is both the quality on instructional leadership, and on the other side, not only instructional, but the school head must be good also in being an administrative leader, because sometimes maayo kayo ang principal nga kay bawo gay siya motudlo, kay bawo siya nga mao ni pag guide sa maestra unsahon pagtudlo sa reading, unsahon pagtudlo sa mathematics, pero og wala siya sa gitawag administrative aspects, meaning timbangon ang iyang focus ra instructional, but wa siya di siya kay bawo mo tan-aw nga ang iyang mga maestra kakuyapo na kay nasobra ra kay mo nang iyang ba nga we have to balance the situation. We have the school head must know how to deal in terms of instruction, but at the same time, the school head must know also how to deal to ensure nga the rights, the opportunities, especially on the professional aspects of the teachers are taking cared of also. So aron kompleto siya, balik kita sa gingon nga ang to miyang holistic approach, the school head must be an instructional leader and administrative manager. So kay bawo siya ug magiging kag administrative manager, kay bawo siya unsaon nga ang iyang mga maestra kanang ma-inspired nga kinahanglan with every year kung mahimo naagi teacher ma-promote, dili kay uh, og og naa mo ideya kanang gitawag theory X o theory Y. Uh, did you encounter that terminology, theory X and theory Y, in dealing with people? So, pwede na i-research ninyo asay maayo, no? Like kung ikaw mag-principal ka, unsa may imong tan-aw sa imong mga maestra, makina nga perme suguon lang nga og guba na imong biyaan, or unsa imong tan-aw sa maestra as a human being, mo perform ba siya bahala, like for instance kung ikaw principal naglaing lawas sa imong maestra, miyang di ka bahalag naglain mong lawas siya, obserbahan gyud ka kay it's my role as principal. So mao ba na siya? So ato na pre-apply ang gitawag theory X and theory Y, pero wa man na ilabot sa inyong interview, tagaan ta mong assignment pod to do research as I best in terms of managing school, as I best nga gamiton nga principle sa principal, ang theory X ba or ang theory Y. Aron na pod mo assignment mahimo.
Okay, thank you, sir. Your insights truly highlights the qualities needed for effective school leadership. So I will now pass to Alexa for the next set of questions.
Okay?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your insights about leadership styles and the important qualities of educational leaders. Since leadership greatly influences the environment within schools, I would now like to move to our next topic, which focuses on school culture and how it shapes the experiences of both learners and teachers. So, for my first question, sir, as the SDS of Mandawi City, how do you ensure that schools develop a positive and inclusive school culture that promotes respect, discipline, and collaboration among students and teachers?
Well, if I have to summarize my answer, na the common statement that I could give to you is this: if you want to know the kind of school that you want to visit, is just ask who is the principal. So meaning, if you want to have a positive culture in that particular school, you have to see to it nga the principal itself is, meaning ang principal ang akong gipasabotan na is the principal mismo kanang gitawag nato siya og model. Because culture, speaking of school culture, it's either negative or positive. For example, the superintendent wants that the teacher will develop the culture of punctuality. But how can I ensure that the teacher will develop punctuality if the principal assigned in that school is high sun come, high sun go. Do you understand what do you mean by high sun come, high sun go? Sa Binisaya na, taas ng adlaw pag-abot, taas pang adlaw ni pauli na. So, if I want the teacher to develop punctuality, I have to see to it nga the first person to arrive in school is the principal. And the first person to go out the school is the principal. Diba? So, meaning, there is modeling. I have so good sa principal. So, if we want to develop the positive culture as superintendent, I have to see to it that it is developed first with the principal. No? Another, for example, the culture of transparency. We will say that the teacher should be transparent in computing the grades so that the parents will not complain nga dili transparent. But how can the teacher be inspired to do so if ang principal pod niyo ng teacher nga kana kalay mong principal ang iyaharang mga angel mao may dagko grado way sud-sud klase pero outstanding nya kami ga klase kada adlaw among performance S or VS raman. So again, kaghisgot man tayong school culture nga positive culture, for me, start na kita sa role modeling. And that role modeling should start from the principal. Kay doon na may domino effect. Ang domino effect kung gibuhat sa principal ang positive sundo nas maestra, then of course ang maestra mapasunod po sa bata. Kay for example, ang principal mawa permi, musunod po ng maestra mawa po. Kay na may giingon, when the cat is away, the mouse is also away. Karaan naman tong statement nga, when the cat is away, the mouse will play. Ang bago, when the cat is away, the mouse is also away. So, o perming wang principal, mawa pong maestra. Kung magsige tabi ang principal, magtabi pong maestra. So yun na kamo kay in the coming days we will become teachers also, meaning in developing positive culture. Kung gusto ta sa mga bata nga masunod unsay sakto, then we will see to it nga what is right should be right. Meaning, even if nobody is doing it, you have to do it. For example, pag-abot mo sa eskwelahan ang mga maestra late. But if you want to start from your end, then dili ka maingon nga mosunod ko nila late bitaw pud sila. No? Imong sugdan. Ingon ana nga that's a way of saying nga nag-role modeling ta. Kay example, there are a lot of practices in school that will not develop positive culture. For example, there is what you call double mentality which is not good. For example, o ato mong eskwelahan ay kantin. Ang mga bata palinyahon inig palit dito sa kantin. Fall in line. Pero ang teacher nag-fall in line. Wala. Ang mga bata 10 minutos naglinya pero pag abot si teacher dito sa tubangan palit. So how can we develop in the learners kana pag-ingon nga follow rules, follow instructions, follow policies ng learners mingon wala man double mentality man kay og teacher di ay okay ra man mo diretso o kami dili di ba o kami malit alinyahon pa man mi pero ang teacher na late diretso ra man mura ra magwa. So say po lang gid na to develop positive culture is to see to it that we can model the way. Dili ta anang ingon nga do na kay kung usahay mo niyan follow what I say but do not follow what I do. Sunda ang akong gisulti pero ayaw sunda ang akong gibuhat. Which is not good, di ba? Murag doktor ba? No smoking. Pero ang doktor ang nagkarilyo. So in role modeling, even if you will not speak but you are doing it, ultimately ang mga bata mo follow ginanimo. Ngayon ka, alright children, we will develop in ourselves the culture of saving. Imong gusto financial literacy. Pero ang maestra na puno mas utang. Ningon man class, nay mangita kay nako inangwa ko dirihan ni tago sa ma'am CR. So how can we develop financial literacy in the learners? Di ba? Again, simple rin kayo. To develop positive culture in all our dealings, there is what we call role modeling. In my case, as superintendent, even if you will research, third level officers are not required to sign time in and time out. Assistant superintendents, directors, we are not required to have time in and time out. Wala namin ang gitawag daily time record. But as part of role modeling kay positive culture man, every day, as early as 7:30 na anak ko sa office. Pero wala ko nag-pants in because dili na ko required nga mag-pants in o pants out. So again, mo nagitaw na to. Simple lang to develop the school culture, role modeling.
Mm, it is truly delightful, good sir, to hear your insights. I would now like to proceed to my second question. Uh, from
Okay.
your from your perspective as a leader in the Department of Education Schools Division, how do
Uh,
school policies and practices help create an environment where learners feel safe, motivated, and supported in their academic and personal growth, sir?
pardon, kindly repeat the question.
For my second question, sir, from your perspective as a leader in the Department of Education Schools Division, how do school policies and practices help create an environment where learners feel safe, motivated, and supported in their academic and personal growth?
Uh, Precisely, in DepEd now, we have implemented that what we call inclusive education. So we have to see to it that in every activity that the school will introduce, there is no point having the activity that some learners are not allowed to participate or some learners feel that they are not part of the activity. So that is why we are not encouraging especially activities like for instance money making fundraising activities. Those are activities that will not develop in them that positive environment that they will feel that they are valued, we will not feel that they are equal. So we are ensuring that there is what they call, in fact, each school is mandated to have that what they call child protection policy. So in the child protection policy, they will line up there in their planning what are their activities, what are their plans of action, so that the learners are protected, the learners will feel safe, especially like for example bullying, no? So those are part and parcel of the role of the school. That's why we have also, aside from the PTA, there is what we call school governance council, because these are the school governance council are the governing body that will provide guidance, support, advices, direction to the principal on how they will ensure that basic quality basic education is delivered. At the same time, the rights and privileges are of all the learners are protected. They will feel safe. Yeah, there is safe environment as they enter the school campus.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your valuable insights and perspectives. At this point, we will now proceed to our last topic, which will be
Okay.
asked by Graven.
Our final topic, sir, is all about issues affecting schools. We want to understand the challenges currently faced by schools in Mandawi City and how you guide them to address these challenges. So, for my first question, sir, with the recent lobbying of 439 million under the Local Government Support Fund or LGSF to build high-rise school buildings in congested areas like Barangay Paknaan, Tabuk, Umapad, and Labogon, what is the division's contingency plan for the students' learning quality if these construction projects face delays, or and how are we ensuring that the shifting system does not lead to learning loss?
Well, that what we call as you are mentioning a more than 400 million. Basically, that amount is the proposal for the school year for the year 2027. It is not for this year 2026. Uh, as of now, our schools, even if there is no constructions yet, not only on those schools, but in most of our schools, since we are highly urbanized schools, we are implementing even now that double shifting. So meaning in one classroom, there are classes, separate class in the morning, then another class in the afternoon in that single room. So in that situation, as soon as construction will happen in this school, so definitely there will be realigning, there will be changes in the design, in the implementation of classes, so in their scheduling. So in that way, one thing that the school can do through even with the technical assistance of the division is again for those classroom or what we call sessions or grade level having only one session in that part per day, then our solution is to have it a double session. But for those with double session already, another scenario will be the application of the combination of on-site and off-site, like what your school is doing now, di ba? I understand CNU is applying now the virtual or the synchronous or asynchronous, and in us in DepEd we call it alternative delivery mode. So in short, if it needs that there are days for the learners to be in at home, then we will apply it. But we have to see to it that while they are at home, depending on the capacity of the learners, then we have to determine whether it is appropriate for them to use the the internet through the synchronous or asynchronous, or maybe if not, then we will apply using the modular or the modules, di ba? So basically, we will implement the options depending not only on what the school wants, but it depends also on the consultation. Of course, the parents shall be consulted. Unlike sa inyo, I do not know, gi-consult pa mo kay mga dagko naman mo. But our ed, especially elementary, the learners cannot decide at their level, at their own. So it is their parents that will be consulted. Kaya ba ninyo nga mag-virtual kwanta class? Or if not, then modular ta. Kung mag-modular pod, kaya ba ninyo nga mooy mo provide og direct link sa mga bata dito sa balay? So og dili kaya, then the school has to look into another options aron nga ang instruction still ma-deliver while construction is ongoing.
Thank you so much for that, sir. And for my second question, sir, after the 2025 earthquakes, the old building at Mandawi City Central School was recommended for demolition. And one building at Cesar Cabahog Elementary School in Barangay Look was reported to be tilted. May we ask about the current status of the demolition or retrofitting of these buildings and how the division is managing classroom space while ensuring the safety of the students?
Basically, yes, probably you are just using the media report as basis of your question. But basically, it is not the right situation because speaking for Central, it is not the whole building that is to be demolished. It is not the whole building that has been damaged by the earthquake, but it is only the principal's office. And after validation, it's even the city engineering office recommended only for retrofitting. So it has been retrofitted, but then again, it is not, no, it is not for demolition. Meaning, doon na lang mga kanang misimpression, mis appraisal of the information nga a certain room lang, principal's office dapat ang dunay problema, pero ang na-reported parang kanang murag alarming kay it's the whole building to be demolished. It's not the case. And the same is true with Cesar Cabahog. At first, yes, the report is tilting, but when the city engineer's office did the validation, the tilting is not due to the earthquake, but there is parang slowly there is a tilting, not the cause is not earthquake, but it is basically since the area is beside the sea, di ba? Daplin sa dagat. So doon na ginakita nga inahinay mo pag-tilt, but ang ilang recommendation still safe for occupancy. And it was corrected again. It is not caused by the earthquake nga ni-tilt ang maong building. So basically, DepEd, we are not the agency nga kanang dili kami naay authority nga maingon gyud safe or unsafe. That is why we are relying on the recommendation of the authorities. And that authority when it comes to building for the city is the city engineering office. So that is why after the recommendation nga like sa central retrofit ang office of the principal, then sa Cesar Cabahog although dunay tilting, but then again ilang i-clarify it's not because of the earthquake, but probably because ang area daplin sa dagat, but they recommended nga still safe for use, only nga mo gingon safe for use, but they have the instruction to for the school nga to regularly monitor, kung doon na bagay farther pa nga pagtilting nga kanang basis na gyud nga they will do another kanang check up. So dili lang yan lang sige gamitan ninyo kay safe ra na siya, but with the instruction gyud nga regularly the school has to monitor so that they can immediately report kung doon na gyud additional nga paglihok sa mga building.
Thank you so much, sir, for these clarifications, sir, and your guidance will certainly help principals and teachers navigate these challenges successfully.
Okay, no problem. Thank you also for allowing DepEd Mandawi to shed light on some information. Hopefully, it will help you as future leaders. Hopefully, you will not be like others who have no desire to serve DepEd for quite a long time, because in reality, many of the teachers are going abroad. So basically, in terms of love for country, there's something parang in question, because they will just serve for 2 or 3 years, then after that they will go abroad. So I hope in your levels, in your batch, you have more love to the Filipino school children than to become rich. Because if in your mind is to become rich, then perhaps as of now, nanas inyong mindset daan nga mo graduate lang ko, mo abroad gi ko aron madato ko. Pero ug naa sa inyong kasing-kasing the passion to help Filipino school children, then mo na gyud forever you will stay in the Philippines.
Thank you very much for your insight, sir. These will truly inspire us and guide us as future educators. Now, before we officially conclude, may we kindly request a short photo opportunity with you, sir, for documentation purposes.
Yes, no problem, but the two of you are not opening their camera.
Yes. Alexa and Antoinette, can you open your cams? Yungel, can you screenshot? Thank you very much. Ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. None? Okay. Okay na, Jen.
Okay na.
Thank you very much, sir. That is all for today's interview. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Goodbye.